Well, we did not talk to this man. We wanted to talk to this man yesterday, but he was very busy down there working the phones for Judge Roy Moore. He wants to be your next senator in the great state of Missouri. Courtland Sykes, welcome back, Big 550 KTRS.
McGraw, good to be with you.
Are you back down there, or are you back here in Missouri?
We're in the process. We're coming back through, visiting some friends in Kentucky, and then coming back into to Missouri. We wanted to stop and visit some folks for Christmas.
So what happened?
Well, the president, what he said was the deck was stacked against him. I think we're going to find out. Obviously, it's unbelievable to think that in the reddest state, or one of the reddest states in the union, that they would elect statewide a anti-gun abortionist like Doug Jones. So obviously this didn't happen organically. This wasn't a natural occurrence. The people of Alabama didn't wake up one morning and decide, we're going to vote against all the principles that we hold dear. So we'll see.
Hold on. Do you think the people said these allegations of these women is a bridge too far, and or just didn't vote? Because there's a lot of third party or write-in votes that if they would have voted for the Republican would have, and then people either went and said, I can't do this, or I'll write in somebody else. Well,
that is a scary notion. That's the notion of credible accusations. That's the new legal standard, I guess. And that's, one of the reasons we went down there to fight this. We don't want this coming to Missouri. The notion that you're guilty until proven innocent is unknown in the American justice system, and it's frightening to think that that all of these Republicans basically ask Roy to step out of his race just because of these accusations. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the more these stories started falling apart, the more they pushed the narrative. And in Alabama specifically, what we saw, and we've been studying this, and we're preparing for this in all of our races across the nation, but specifically in Missouri, it was interesting to see it. Now, in the last 2 weeks of the election of this election, the media just shut off. They cut Roy Moore off. Wouldn't allow him to do interviews, wouldn't interview him.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Who wouldn't allow Roy Moore to do any interviews?
Well, this is according to Roy Moore and his campaign. But Roy said, I'm happy to talk to the press, but what they were doing was they were pumping Doug Jones ads and they were pumping Doug Jones interviews, but they were keeping Roy from the interviews. The whole time they were saying that he was hiding. And this, of course,
But who was telling Roy Moore not to speak?
Well, you'd have to ask Roy Moore that.
Well, but you just said he said. But I was wondering.
That's exactly what he said. He said that on Monday night.
I find that interesting because, why? What would stop him from speaking? It's not
right.
It wasn't the liberal media. They would have loved to have shoved a microphone in his face.
Well, that's what I thought. But I think the strategy was on the ground to just pump Doug Jones and keep him on the radio and keep Roy Moore off.
Well, are you insinuating?
No, that's according to the campaign.
Right.
Now, look, I wasn't there the whole time. You understand?
Sure. Yeah.
I was back in Missouri, too.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No. Now, but Richard Shelby, the other Republican senator from Alabama, and Condoleezza Rice, who was a well-respected first daughter of the state, came out and sort of gave people cover and said, you shouldn't vote for this man. Do you think that did a lot of damage, and a lot of Republicans and a lot of people who would have voted for Roy Moore said,
certainly.
That's so. It's and I hate to use the phrase, but it seems like his own party had trouble with him.
Right. Well, look, he obviously was a controversial figure going into this race, and he defeated both Mo Brooks and Luther Strange.
Right.
Mo Brooks was a fantastic candidate, but the people of Alabama chose Roy Moore over everybody.
Right.
So it was up to it had nothing to do with what Condoleezza Rice wants or Senator Shelby. This was the people of Alabama's vote.
Now, do you think
they voted for Roy Moore in the primary? That's who they wanted.
Right.
And then right. So.
But Courtland Sykes, the larger question is this. The establishment candidates, the Luther Strange, right? The Mo Brooks, who was a congressman, one of the Tea Partiers, as you said, was a fine candidate. You had two fine candidates, but the electorate went to go with the anti-establishment fringe. I don't know if that's the right word, but the anti-establishment Roy Moore, and to reject the establishment. If they would have gone with the establishment, they would have won 65-35. So
I don't know that Mo Brooks would appreciate you calling him establishment, but
I mean, in this line, he's more establishment than Roy Moore.
Well, because he's currently serving in Washington.
Well, right.
So
and his party has the majority in the House and the Senate and the White House. So that is the establishment. Even if it was anti-establishment 10 years ago, now that's the establishment.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I think there's two big lessons that I want to say because of your listeners, why this is important for Missouri. Number one, obviously, months ago Mitch McConnell said he didn't want Roy Moore in the Senate because he couldn't, quote, control him. And what that means is he couldn't control him with money or keeping a seat. And that's how this whole Mitch McConnell machine game works. Is you're obedient to Mitch McConnell, right? And he will reward you with keeping your seat. Roy Moore was going to go up to Washington to represent the people of Alabama and the people of the United States. And he was going to read every bill, He wasn't going to vote on a bill unless he had read it. So that was a standard that Roy Moore was bringing to Washington that Mitch McConnell was keeping out. He said that months ago that he couldn't control him with his money, so he wants to keep him out. Telling.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
What was really telling, though, McGraw, was the morning of the election. Mitch McConnell was asked these questions about Roy Moore, and he said, "Well, I'll reserve my answers for after the election." And right then, we knew that he was reaching in and playing games with Alabama. He was so confident that Roy Moore was going to lose to an anti-gun abortionist Democrat in one of the reddest states in the union that he didn't even care to answer the question.
Right. Okay.
That's saying a lot.
But here's the crux, and here's where a lot of people are angry in the Republican Party, and that is if Luther Strange, if the establishment candidate would have won, the establishment candidate would have won. Now, instead of getting Luther Strange, which you agree with 80% of the time, now you get Doug Jones, who you don't agree with, but for 10% of the time. So you went for 100. Now you get 10 instead of taking 80.
And we certainly do have a big problem with that. We have Humphreys here in Missouri, who is openly supporting Doug Jones and giving him money. This is, Josh Hawley, my opponent's biggest donor, and he's openly supporting the anti-gun abortionist in Alabama. So yes, that is the problem. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Back up a second. Hold on. Wait a minute. I want to make sure I heard you right. David Humphrey is a major donor in Springfield. He owns a roofing manufacturing company. And you're saying he was giving money to Doug Jones?
Yeah, $2,700. It's in the Kansas City Star. He gave a statement to the Kansas City Star that said he was openly supporting Doug Jones and wrote him a check for $2,700. That's, of course, the cap. So he offered him as much as he could. Yes, that's the problem. The problem isn't, whether or not we should decide between Luther Strange and Roy Moore. Roy Moore won the primary, so it was over. The argument is, why are all of these supposed Republicans backing the Democrat? We've lost that seat. Well, now that's a contentious issue. Obviously, Roy Moore hasn't conceded yet because it's ridiculous that a Democrat would win a statewide seat in Alabama. But that's the issue. That's really what you're getting at. That is the answer to your question, the question that you're asking.
Right.
So would Luther Strange be the better option? Is absolutely not even the issue. The people of Alabama chose Roy Moore, and then the Republicans started backing the Democrats.
Well, right, but there are extenuating circumstances. So Courtland Sykes, closer to home here, you're running against, you're the anti-establishment candidate. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's
okay. Josh Hawley, the establishment candidate. That's fair to say. You have to convince the voters in the state of Missouri that you can not only deliver the anti-establishment votes in Washington, D.C., but that you will be able to beat Claire McCaskill. And so they'll vote for you, fine, because you're 100% the right guy. Josh Hawley's 80% the right guy. But the question is, who can beat Claire McCaskill in the general election? And if you are too outside of the quote-unquote mainstream, you'll have a harder time beating her than he will.
Well, the people of Missouri need to decide. Well, the same argument was, went for Trump, and clearly the people of Missouri, went for Trump. But the question that the people of Missouri need to ask themselves is, what kind of Republican do they want representing them? Do they want the kind of Republican that will go down and fight for a Republican seat in Alabama and stand up for constitutional conservative Roy Moore and try to keep that Republican seat in the Senate? Or are they going to side with Josh Hawley's camp, who openly supported the anti-gun abortionist Doug Jones and gave him money? So, Josh Hawley's playing the political games. It's very clear. He's being exposed. His team is being exposed for what it is. They want to play political games with Mitch McConnell, and all my camp wants to do, all that we want to do, is give an honest representation of the people of Missouri, just the way that Roy Moore was going to give an honest representation of the people of Alabama. That's why he was able to beat Luther Strange. That's why he was able to beat Mo Brooks, is because the people of Alabama knew that if they sent him to the Senate, that he would honestly represent them first before playing any Washington games. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear you. But looking over the last number of years, you've got Colorado elected or nominated a anti-establishment candidate, lost to the Democrat. Nevada could have beaten Harry Reid, but they went with that Sharon Angle. You've got Chris Coons, senator from Delaware, because the Christine O'Donnell, the anti-establishment, she was the one who wasn't a witch, right? I mean, you've got Indiana, Missouri with Todd Aiken. I mean, we're talking about five or six senators.
So your question is whether or not I will be able to beat Claire. I'll tell you this.
Right.
The question shouldn't be whether or not I could beat Claire. I've already proven that I'm willing to stand up and do the right thing, and I'm a fighter. Now, the person you should be posing this question to is Josh Hawley. Can Josh Hawley beat Claire? I don't think so.
That's interesting.
I think Claire will wipe the floor with Josh Hawley.
And you think that why?
Well, he's completely reserved. He's completely wooden. He's only going to say exactly what the establishment tells him, and the people of Missouri see right through it. They're not. Josh Hawley doesn't have the ability to inspire any voters to come out in 2018.
He was the lead vote getter in 2016 in the state. He got more votes than Donald Trump.
Right, absolutely. We've had this conversation, right. And the people of Missouri really felt that, hey, we have an opportunity here with this young man, and he's got a great resume. Let's see what he's got. And then he jumped in bed with Mitch McConnell. So, he just immediately started making all of the wrong moves, and now he's a non-starter in the state of Missouri.
So you don't like him because he's trying to play both sides. He's trying to play the anti-establishment and the establishment guy at the same time.
Well, when you stand in the middle of the street, you get hit by trucks on both sides, McGraw. That's just ridiculous. And that's another thing. People want leadership. They don't want somebody who's trying to play games for a career, right?
Courtland Sykes, you are always welcome here. How's the campaign going?
Thank you. It's going well. Team is out. Christmas break. We were very patient with putting everybody together. It's forming up now. It's going to look really good. In January, we're all going to be arriving in Missouri, and we're going to be, starting the fundraising and apparatus and getting that going. So, for right now, it was just a strategy. It was evaluating who I want on my team, and in some part, to help out Roy Moore and get a Republican elected down in Alabama.
If somebody is listening to this and is so inclined to give you some money, where is the website to go?
Sykes for Senate 2018, or you can type in CourtlandSykes.com.
There you go, CourtlandSykes.com. Courtland, have a safe trip home, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, very good.